Greetings everyone, welcome back to the world of Kiyln. Today I've made another character type for the Onrisé People, who you'll remember as the rainbow-skinned hot spring folk from a video or two ago. In that first video I designed the Verkaru, honorable warriors who traveled from village to village to protect those who could not protect themselves. In this video I've designed the Rappenja, a new class of traveling storytellers tasked to both collect and perform stories for the masses. If you haven't been here before, I'll briefly summarize the magic system of Kiyln. People in this world are occasionally born with the capacity to accumulate and combust magical substances inside of their actual bodies. People such as these are called burners, and there are 6 types with different magical abilities depending on the magical substance that they are born with. If you want more information, I'll link an introductory video in the top right corner. If not, just know that this project builds upon itself, so you might be a tad confused if you haven't watched my previous videos. Anyway, on to the Rappenja. When I designed these traveling storytellers, I had a few central ideas in mind. They needed to have a mysterious whimsy to them, almost a fae-like demeanor. They needed to seem special and separate from normal folk, as the Onrisé view their burners with extreme religious significance. I'm also taking a lot of visual inspiration from Eastern sensibilities and motifs, namely Asian cultures like Japan and China. That being said, I'm trying to avoid falling into the fantasy Japan stereotype that many settings fall into. While I want to take inspiration from many different things in real life, I also want to separate myself from the baggage that comes with real-world ideologies and cultures. At the end of the day, this is supposed to be a unique culture in a made-up world that is not our own. Anyway, a central motif with the Onrisé burners is their masks, something that's even more prominent in the Rappenja. These storytellers use many different masks to enhance their performances, often rapidly switching between masks and characters as they act out stories. When they're not actively performing, the Rappenja wear a mask depicting the oracle goddess Rahoshi. This beautiful deity is often represented with butterflies, which is another motif I tried to incorporate into their design. In-universe, the Rappenja vary in lifestyle and personal presentation. Some might be stuffy and elitist, dressing in the finest garb and adornments. A large portion choose instead to appeal to common folk, and so their garb is more comfortable and rural. It's a spectrum, wholly dependent on the individual. Some Rappenja might dress like homeless drunkards, while some might dress in clothes so expensive it's a wonder anyone would wear them. The fellow I ended up drawing sits somewhere in the middle, a respectable Rappenja with quality yet practical clothing. He's fine enough to entertain the houses of lesser nobles, but not so fancy he separates himself from the common man. There are a few specific features of this design that I wanted to highlight. The long smoking pipe, which each mask has a hole for, the wooden mud-trotting shoes good for traveling the spring marshes, and the curved sword which would likely see use as both a prop and a deadly weapon. Additionally, I made sure to keep the shoulders and/or chest exposed, as all burners need a way to ventilate the smoke produced by their magical combustion. While I did like the idea of the tassels on their sleeves, I ultimately decided against them in my final illustration. It just cluttered the silhouette too much. That being said, some Rappenja absolutely don such outfits, as the flowing tassels would surely enhance their dance-like performances. I'm overall pretty pleased with this design, especially considering I didn't have a very clear vision going in. It was hard to pick a variation to run with, and honestly 4 or 5 of the rough thumbnails I did could canonically work. I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but whenever I design classes for Kiyln, I build them to be remixable. As long as you keep the central ideas intact, many different varieties of the same concept are possible. This will let me play with proportions and individualized touches in the future when I design specific named characters, but it also allows leeway in the event that I make a TTRPG or something. Regardless, I think we're ready to move on to the final illustration and the deeper lore. The glistening golden empire of Gelos interrupts this video to recognize our coffee loyalists. Huge thanks to Cryptic Art, Pokin, and Ninjug for their donations to the empire. Remember that loyalists such as these get videos 2 weeks early and ad-free. Your very generous contributions will be put to very good use. but do know that we appreciate all of our citizens, regardless of their financial contributions, so long as they pay the tax of 1 like and 1 sub. Oracle is a powerful yet fickle substance. One of the most impressive things about it is that the memories stored within take so long to degrade that they might as well be everlasting. Oracle wax from 1,000 years in the past could be burned in the present, and the memory stored within would still be as clear as the day it was experienced. That being said, as soon as you burn it, you lose quality. The memory stored within the wax becomes exponentially more faded and distorted each time it's melted. The Rappenja are almost always burning, which produces a whole lot of mundane and useless memories. The Rappenja take the wax that stores these memories and they smoke it in their pipes. They are taught that even mundane memories are valuable to relive and meditate upon. In fact, smoking these boring memories put the Rappenja in a calm, trance-like state that makes telling stories even easier. Of course, even after smoking, the spent wax is not wasted. It is taken and mixed with secret components to make a clay-like material. When fired in a kiln, it solidifies into a hard and shiny result that the Gelnians call Oracle ceramic. This is how the Rappenja create their mini masks, each meticulously fashioned to perfectly suit the stories they want to tell. When an Oracle burner is found amongst the Onrisé, they are sent to a monastery to be trained into a Rappenja. There are no exceptions. Burners are simply too rare and valued in their society and religion. Elderly masters train their students in ancient memorization techniques. That way, they only need to witness or hear a story once to know it by heart. There is a collection of foundational religious tales that each Rappenja must know so that they can accurately recount them to any person that needs to hear them. Beyond that, it is up to the individual to seek out and store tales they find valuable. If a Rappenja wishes to cache a story in wax, they will deposit the purple goop in one of many wooden containers all over their body. They won't open these again for years, not until their journeying days are done and they return to the monastery. They will then spend months burning and meditating upon all their gathered tales, then recording them in scrolls to be given to up-and-coming Rappenja. These monasteries have become vast repositories of tales of all kinds, and they are fiercely protected from those who would seek to steal or destroy information. You can tell the age and experience of a wandering Rappenja by the number of containers that clatter on their bodies. These stored memories never leave the Rappenja's person, and the punishment for thieving such important artifacts is death, often carried out by the storyteller themselves. The Onrisé believe that burners' abilities come from their deities, fragments of the divine soul which share their bodies. The Rappenja are believed to hold slivers of the goddess Rahoshi, whose domains are art, beauty, and memory. The butterfly symbolizes her unending metamorphosis. The butterfly ornamentation behind a Rappenja's head evokes the idea that Rahoshi is behind every form they depict with their masks. Rahoshi is said to be ever adapting, always changing into the form best suited to guide her followers. Where Virshi taught humanity the brutality of nature and gave them the tools to survive it, Rahoshi taught mankind about beauty and art, about the value of connection and story. She is said to have told many guiding stories to man in ancient times, and those tales are the basis for all Onrisé mythology today. These great stories are exceptionally important to their theology, and it's the Rappenja's job to spread these stories to all Onrisé people, so that they can understand their place and purpose in the world. The meaning of the tales is the subject of doctrinal debate, although most Onrisé agree on the core principles. Most Rappenja don't just spread stories, they seek to participate in them. In their training, they learn an artistic form of swordplay meant to accentuate storytelling, but it also sees practical use to deadly effect. Even if they never get in a fight, the sensory-enhancing qualities of Oracle make its burners useful tools to many. Powerful groups or individuals might ask or hire a Rappenja to use their acute senses for all manner of purposes, and Rappenja often agree to the deal if they think that they can get a good story out of it. Additionally, the Rappenja seem to have a very good sense for showing up during important events. Some even journey beyond their homeland to seek out folk they believe will do great things, or to follow groups whose escapades might make for good campfire tales. Of course, in line with the will of the goddess Rahoshi, a Rappenja is to share stories wherever they think a story ought to be shared. If a Rappenja offers you a tale, you better listen. They have the acute ability to change your life with nothing but well-said words. Alright, here we are, the Rappenja class. What do you think? I'll be perfectly honest, I'm getting a tad bit bored of this art style, but I think I'm still pretty satisfied with the result. Once I finish up the Onrisé classes, I'll probably experiment with a more painterly style. Don't get me wrong, the Vermis-inspired presentation is very fun, but I think my project is starting to grow beyond these inspirations. Sorry for the longer wait on this video. Hopefully I can get back into the swing of things soon. But I don't know, no promises. Regardless, the next video is going to be on dragons or mother hand. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Be a dear and like and subscribe. All that YouTube stuff, you know the drill. I'll see you in the next video. Farewell.